Good afternoon. My name is William Owens, and I'm here with my group members, J. Michael Bridges, Quentin Love, Drake Allen, and David Jackson. We comprise of a group, and Stanley Collins, I apologize. We comprise of a group named Higher Learning, and today we are here to interview you. Can you start off with saying your name?
Oh, sure. Name is Jimmy Mumford, and I have an MFA in computer arts.
Okay. Where did you complete your graduate education?
Went to graduate school at the Memphis College of Art in Memphis, Tennessee. A lot of people know the name, the Academy. I want to say Jimmy Carter's daughter went to school there years before I got there, but they since changed the name to Memphis College of Art.
Okay. What were some early struggles that you may have had there?
In graduate school?
Yes, sir.
The hardest thing about, first of all, the hardest thing about graduate school is you have to know what you're doing. When you're in undergrad, they do a great job in teaching you skills and trying to think, but applying those skills in graduate school is what it's all about. So teachers are not going to teach you how to use software, and there's certain things that they're just not going to tell you because of the fact that they assume you already know those things from undergrad. The other thing that was hard was being a black designer. You don't often find very many black graphic designers in graduate school, so you don't really have many people that you can look up to. So those were some of the challenges in graduate school. But just like anything else, you just learn to overcome them.
Okay. And you also said that what was your topic of dissertation?
Because I went to, my undergrad degree from Delta State was in graphic design.
Okay.
And when I went to graduate school, I wanted to do something different. This is when the internet was just really starting. It wasn't popular then as it was now. So my dissertation or research topic dealt with combining both traditional media and digital media to create and design a magazine. The name of my publication that I designed was going to be called Praise, P-R-A-I-Z-E. And the only thing that led me to do that was Kirk Franklin. Of course, Kirk Franklin was just big and just starting out in the scene back then, and it seemed like he was creating groundbreaking the way his songs were. You just didn't really hear that type of music being done for gospel. So I wanted to extend that and create a printed version of what he was doing on the radio. So my dissertation was to design a publication that was provoking, but still in the same genre of gospel that bordered so many edges. So it was a magazine and digital website, interactive CD. So those were the items that I had to do for graduate school.
Okay. I know that you said as far as the Praise publication that you're going to begin with print. Did you ever think about possibly moving on to video or film with it?
Well, probably more so video, and how I was going to utilize the video was that the publication, when you received the publication, there was going to be a CD-ROM inside of the publication. And of course, this is where a lot of the new artists would be featured on the CD. So back then, they don't have it now, you can actually, they called them enhanced CDs, where you can take them and put them into your car and listen to the music, and then you take that same CD and pop it into your computer, and not only do you get the music, but of course you also get video. And the CD, of course, also allows you to go to a website. So all those things was going to be included on the CD that you receive with the magazine.
Okay. What type of research did you conduct while doing this?
Well, when I was in graduate school, I used to work, I was an art director of a magazine. So I commuted from Memphis, Tennessee to Oxford, Mississippi. One of the first things I had to do was research a bunch of magazines to get a feel of the look and feel, structure. Writers had to get an idea about the style of writing that I want to put in there, photography. So all those distribution, because in graduate school they want you to go and do the whole project just like if it was a real project. The printing side had to be done. So all those things went into the research of the publication.
Okay. Would you consider your research to be qualitative or quantitative?
Well, when I was designing the publication, I had to use both methods in
Okay.
order to figure out how to tell the story that I wanted to tell. So oftentimes more people use one or the other, but sometimes, you know, you have to use both in order to successfully tell the story. Well, in my case, I had to use both. So it helped me a lot.
Did you find one type of research harder to use than the other?
Not really. I mean, in terms of research, there are a bunch of different things that you could do when it comes to research. The reason why you want to research is the fact that you want to first figure out what's already been done. And two, how do you show someone a different way of seeing things? Everyone is so used to seeing the same thing all the time. So you need to figure out what's been done so you know what to do and not what to do. Exploration is big when it comes to research. So it wasn't anything hard. The hardest thing was trying to figure out how to come up with a concept or come up with something that was never been done before.
How important do you feel like it is for undergraduates to complete a course in research methods?
I think it's important for every student to take a class in research methods, primarily because of the fact that if you look at the educational landscape now, a lot of students coming in are not prepared. They don't really understand what research really is. So when you give a student a project, they may be limited because they don't really know what they can do. Research is important because it teaches a student how to think beyond the box, how to explore and try some different things so that you can create the project and stand out from your peers.
Why do you think students shy away from conducting research?
I think students shy away from research because of the whole microwave society. People want things done quick. It's like the library. You know, when I was an undergrad, I used to work in the library. You had to card catalog. If you wanted to a book, you had to do a interlibrary loan. You had to wait a couple of days to get the book. You review it and send it back. Nowadays, everything is simple as opening up your iPad or your iPhone and getting information very quick, instantaneous. So a lot of people don't want to actually sit through the process of research. They want the gratification. They want to go straight to the end without going through the project, the research, to figure out what they can do. So people don't always assume, or they always say, it takes too much time. So I think that's one of the reasons why they shy away from it, because of the fact that they have so much going on. The students have so much going on that they don't realize that the research is the backbone or the foundation of any project.
Do you feel as though the value of students going and doing research in the library is decreasing in comparison to students getting information from the internet?
It is. I mean, technology is always a great thing, but I think by the same token, technology can also make someone very lazy because of the fact that you're not using the traditional means or methods that you used to use in order to find information. Again, because the internet is so popular now, you can be in your car, on the bus, anywhere, and people get notifications on their phone. So I think that the research in terms of libraries, I mean, it's on decline. Even our library here, it's interesting that it seems that the library is going back to like a coffee house where it becomes a meeting place for people to meet versus them actually going and conducting research.
What are a couple of kinds of students using online research?
Obviously, the cons would be instantaneous. Students copy and paste, so you're probably going to see a lot of plagiarism. I mean, that's probably the biggest con versus anything, but I guess the pros could also be the fact that the information is also instantaneous, it's quick, but everything that you read on the internet, of course, is not always factual. So, you know, you really need to spend time trying to verify your sources. And I think that's probably one of the cons of the internet is people take what they read at face value.
What are some areas in graphic design that you are working on now?
Well, in graphic design, I like to practice what I preach. So I have a company, of course, it's called Circle Design Studio, which is CERCLE. I do print design, web design, working on a project right now for an engineering firm where they have me designing or providing the graphic design for apps that they're doing. Research that I like to do, I like to listen to what people say in terms of inspiration and turn those into artwork. It's amazing that as you begin to walk around, you can be inspired by anything. To give you an example, you think about the principles of an airplane. I can't remember all 4 principles, but 2 of the principles are drag, you have drag, thrust, and lift. But in terms of people can also drag you down, they can thrust you, and they can also lift you. So what I'm doing, of course, is developing artwork around that whole concept, that how you can take something else that's so different and apply it to your life to become inspirational.
Are there any suggestions that you have for any budding researchers?
Suggestions as?
To further help them, or more efficiently help them research?
Well, there are a lot of different methods for research. Sometimes you have to find the best method for you. For instance, for me as a graphic designer, when I teach research in my class, one of the things that I have the students do is to generate a word list. And you associate an image with each one of the words. Most people like to do a mind map. Some people like to take letters and turn them into an acronym. I'll give you an example. There's an ad agency that developed a campaign for type 2 diabetes. And their campaign was centered around creating a character called Todd. I'm sorry, it's type 1 diabetes. So Todd was type 1 diabetes. So you have to figure out the different methods and figure out which method works best for you. But in my case, in terms of graphic design, the word list seems to work best for me because as I begin to research and do the words, I can associate an image with each one of the words.
So what are some areas of concern that you see in some student researchers?
Some of the areas of concern is them students not spending enough time researching. You give students a project or a problem and they come back with one idea, which usually is not the best because how do you know if that idea is the best one if you have never worked through the process? It's a lot like dating. You can't say that when you come to JSU, the first person that you meet, you're going to marry. How do you know if you've never dated other people? So research, in my opinion, is kind of the same way. In order to give yourself a chance, you have to go through the process. People ask, how many sketches should I create? Should I do 6? Should I do 10? Should I do 2? Oftentimes, you will know how many sketches to do based on your idea and where you're trying to go. When I sketch and design, I try to do 20 to 50 sketches on each different thing that I do. Some of those ideas are very cliche-ish, but of course, that's how they start out. But as you begin to move and develop, you start thinking about different things and trying different things that you never thought about before. But from a student standpoint, that's what they should do. You always want to give yourself options. Because if a teacher tells you to, that's not right, you're going to be pissed off if you've only come up with one idea.
Okay. I remember earlier in the interview, you fully advocating for a research class being done for students. Mm-hmm. What grade level do you feel like research classes should first be introduced to students?
It really depends on your curriculum. Here in our department, we introduce research at the sophomore level. So before you start taking your other classes and start to get into the meat of your curriculum, you start out by taking research as a foundation level course. So I would think that any discipline wanting to create and develop a research and methods class or trying to figure out when students need to take that class, you should do it at least in the sophomore year, right before you start to get too far with some of your other classes.
What progression have you seen through some of your research students?
It's always amazing to start out with students and you teach them research and they start out one way. And by the time the project is over, they've totally changed and they begin to see things a totally different way. And that's what your research allows you to do. A lot of them they say things like, I never knew that this even existed, or I never knew that this was out there. And I always say, well, that's the whole point of research. It's always hard when students come to you and they say, I don't know what to do. And when they say that, it's because they probably haven't given themselves a chance to research. You can't just sit in front of the computer and plug yourself up and expect something to happen. It's not the computer, it's the user. But I've seen some great students and their progress and their thinking, and they go on to have successful careers either in graduate school or in the professional world.
Do you often find some students that that may actually be nervous or scared to do research actually?
I don't think they're nervous or scared. I think it's time. I think when I was an undergrad, I didn't have as many distractions as some of the students have now. Stayed on campus, had a job, went to school during the week and worked on the weekend. Students nowadays, they face a huge challenge. They're working, some are married. If they are working, some may be holding down 2 jobs. So their students are already living life, trying to maintain school and work life. So they're much more mature when they come to school. They're on the fast track. And if you're worried about your car, you're not going to worry about school. So those, I think, are some of the challenges that students face now.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.